Welcome back to Mcoc Albundyrules. I got some video for you of my newest R3 6-star. Here it's going to be Gambit. All of the videos we see here, nice damage there, are with the Apocalypse synergy, some various other synergies in different video parts. I have many different areas where I filmed here. I'm starting off with some mainly some highlights of some fights, of a few different fights to show some of the damage. A lot of people sometimes say he doesn't do that much damage, and I wanted to get that off of the get-go. Yes, he does do plenty of damage. But then again, his biggest value is that perfect block. We're seeing 100% chance to get perfect block when used with that Apocalypse synergy. So again, all these fights do have the Apocalypse synergy. And so I'm going to show a little bit more of full fights coming up. I have several full fights I'm going to show you, again, from various different parts of the content. But first, showing you a few little highlights. These first ones come out of ROL. We saw 200,000 right there on that one. S2 right there. And your ability to do multiple in a row, it can be very useful as far as Gambit's damage output. So see a little bit of his damage going on here and a few little highlights. Here we got some fight from, I believe this was Cavalier Event Quest. I said from multiple different areas of the game I got some. So mainly what I'm doing is I start off the fight, I go back, keep holding it to get 10 of his little charge doohickey madiggies, whatever they're called. We see those little spades going up to 10. Once I get up to 10 with the Apocalypse synergy, it's impossible for Gambit to take any block damage. So as long as it's not an unblockable attack, like an unblockable special or a heavy, you're good to go. So I'm purposefully going to be taking a lot of block damage. I'm purposely going to be avoiding dexting, especially on specials, as much as I remember. So you see 0 damage on that special right there. Something else we're going to see pretty awesome with Gambit is how his health kind of just goes up. Based on the bleed abilities from the Horseman synergy as well, also could be used with his signature ability as well. He's able to heal, which makes him very suicide friendly because I'm able to not take the bleed damage and in fact heal from it. So think of it something like how Corvus is very suicide friendly because he is healing while the bleed is up. So something very useful there. You're going to see fights where Gambit's health goes up pretty significantly, and we're already seeing it's gone up several percent at the beginning of this fight. Can really shine up fights like this where hitting like Biohazard, hitting into the bleeds. The more bleeds I got on me, the more I'm healing. And we've seen Gambit already heal about 10% at the beginning of this fight. And so really all the rest of the fights are going to be full fights. None of the fights are really longer than a minute each, I don't think. Again, from various contents throughout the game, just to give a basic idea on what he can do. You're going to see some massive damage on many of them. You're going to see me chaining specials at times. And to kill sometimes S1s. I'll be kind of switching up my gameplay a little bit here and there as we proceed. Again, these fights, every one of these fights is with the Apocalypse synergy and Horseman of Apocalypse pre-fight activated. I want to make sure it's very clear. Gambit's good without it. I did a tutorial on him previously without that, so he's very good. But with that, I believe him to be one of the best, if not the best Horseman in the game, because he does something no other champion the entire game can do. People like to criticize Gambit's damage for some reason. As we are seeing in this fight, he puts up plenty of damage. But let's pretend like he didn't. Let's pretend like those claims his damage is bad are real for a second. Who cares? When he doesn't take any damage, in fact heals from damage coming up, specifically bleed, then who cares if the fight takes an extra 20 seconds or 30 seconds and you leave it with 0 lost health? Who cares if he does a tiny little less damage than some of the other guys? That's my opinion. So I personally consider Gambit at least in consideration, at least in discussion, at least an honorable mention at most as a top Horseman of Apocalypse champ in the game. Again, he does something no other champ can do. You can bring him into so many content. You can bring him into the fights with those hard to evade specials. You can bring him into a lot of stuff. People talk about his utility. First of all, he has 100% perfect block ability, including all the specials 1 and 2s, all those fights. So that's some pretty insane utility nobody else has. As we see me ramping those up there. And I can switch them to prowess when I charge a heavy. I explained that on the tutorial I did of him. You're welcome to see how to use him in there. So what I'll do is I'll skip my little 10 spade doohickeys going on until I'm ready to go on the attack. So when I'm ready to go on to the attack, you switch those spades into prowess by doing a heavy. What I'll normally do is just do a parry heavy, and it's going to be perfect block. So I'll do a parry, and then when I'm charging that heavy, I'll launch. And we'll see I did that there, so that switched them to the prowess, and we see with that prowess the special. A lot of times, if that does not end the fight with that special, what I will do is try to chain a couple more specials while the prowess is still active. If I take a little bit of block damage in that while the prowess are up and the spades are off, that's fine. I can heal it back later with more bleed damage or the next fight. Again, you can continuously use bleed to heal, much like a Corvus. So that makes them, again, recoil friendly. You can recover a lot of that recoil damage on the beginning of the next fight. Consider the beginning of the next fight kind of like an automatic heal or regeneration almost. So again, you see all these hits. Again, I'm purposely taking lots and lots of block damage. I'm purposely trying to avoid my normal instincts of dexing, just so we can see how I am not taking any damage at all from all those blocks, including the specials. And as we're seeing some pretty dang good special damage as well. So I'm hoping for those who are kind of Gambit haters out there, or say, oh, he's decent, but there's so many much better. I'm hoping this gives you some idea, because again, unlike all those other champs you're going to try to compare him with, especially in Horseman Synergy, unlike those AAs or Wolverines or even Cables, he does something they can't do. He has unlimited sustainability. Not only can he keep kind of self-healing, but he cannot lose damage when you use him correctly. All right. If you want to say, oh, has to sacrifice damage for the perfect block, that's not necessarily true. Just time it correctly. As we see most of these fights, I'm ending on a special, or so be it. You don't have to use specials. You can keep those 10 spaces. You don't have to switch prowess. You don't have to do that. You can still get some fairly decent damage. We also see you can get that unstoppable right there with that Apocalypse Horseman right there. Can be very helpful sometimes if you do make a little mistake like we saw there. Again, I don't sweat mistakes too much with Gambit because he can heal a little bit when those bleeds get going on. And of course, he's not taking any block damage. So we see this Hit Monkey special too right there. 0 damage. Purposefully block the entire thing. Go ahead, switch it over to prowess, do that S2, and ends that fight. So I usually try to end my fight with the special 2 under normal circumstances. However, I'm not too worried. You notice I never really attack at the beginning as I'm trying to get my 10 spades up, so I get those perfect blocks. Again, it's a 10% chance for perfect block for every spade up, maximum of 10, which is 100%. So we're going to see me. Another thing I like to do is just take some block damage on purpose without taking any damage, but block some because it helps me build up power without attacking him. So it's kind of almost a form of power control in some ways, because I'm able to gain power without giving the defender any power just by taking blocks without taking any damage. So I'm trying to bait out this. So perfect block does not work on things like on the unblockables like an S3 or a heavy, so I do have to ensure I'm able to bait out before they get to the S3. So that is one thing you got to keep an eye out for. Again, we're seeing some massive damage going on his specials. Let's get the 10 spades up. Do a parry heavy while the heavy's charging, do that special, and boom, you get some good old damage. Even if it doesn't crit, it's still really, really good damage. A lot of the time it crits, though, and it does insanely good damage. But again, best thing about him is he does something others can't do, and he just takes all those blocks, and so be it. I'm trying to get Punisher to launch his S2. Trying to bait it out. Let's look at that hard one to evade right there. Dex star, right? Don't have to dex. So those champs with those hard to block, 166,000 on that last hit of that S2 alone right there. So you can get these spades up, showing these fun little fights going on. We see Cosmic Ghost Rider. So there we go. I got my 10 spades. So now I'm just kind of building up some power. If I get them up into their specials, I don't care. I don't have to dex. I don't care what champion is, as long as it's not unblockable specials. And I got to be a little more cautious. But there's not a ton of unblockable special champs out there in the game and or on nodes. But just like any other champ in those cases, you'll have to dex them on out. At least most other champions. So here we see that S2. I just go ahead and block it. Take 0 damage from all that. Gotta love it. Cosmic Ghost Rider AI decided to do some like ninja style dexting right there. See this S2 and more than enough to finish up that fight. Easy breezy. So now let's go into this War Machine fight. Wanted to make sure I showed some War Machine because he has a very difficult to dex S1. So I'm going to make sure I bait out an S1 and show you how he's so good on fights like this, where you have a hard time, very difficult to try to dex some of these different champ specials out. You don't have to. I can do more than above average damage while taking no damage. How can you beat that? How can you dismiss this man over here with Gambit? And if you want to say he relies on Apocalypse, he's still good without Apocalypse, but yeah, to get the perfect block and to be as good as he is, he absolutely needs that Horseman Apocalypse synergy. I absolutely agree. However, so does Cable, and no one blinks an eye when people rank up the Cable. In fact, I got an R3 Cable too. Now we got this Hercules going on, again doing what I do as we've seen in all of my fights, 10 spades. And keep in mind, when you switch those spades over to prowess for the specials, and if it's like a longer fight, those really high health pool fights, and you're not able to finish it, as soon as the prowess wear off, then you're able to put up to 10 spades again. You can do that in infinite amount of times during the fight, so don't think it's only like a one-time thing. You keep switching back to the 10 spades after the prowess wore off, or again, you don't have to switch it to prowess. Just don't do a heavy. That's going to be your choice. I normally only do it when I believe that the fight is going to end very soon. But if I was having a tougher champ, I would just not use the heavy. We see those concussion up, another nice piece of utility there on Gambit, and there we go. So I'm hoping you enjoy this, hoping you enjoy my new R3, hope you see why I believe Gambit is one of the best, if not the best, horsemen out there. And don't forget to click the top left icon, subscribe to Mcoc, Albundyrules. As always, thanks for watching. Turn those notifications on, be the first to see the new videos, check out some of my other vids and playlists. Thank you.